Right, another video working on the 2006 Jeep LJ. This time we are working on service bulletin number 25-005-13, and this is for those of you that own a older TJ or an LJ. You probably have this bulletin already done. Unfortunately, what I did was, in my previous videos, while trying to hunt down a overcharging issue, I did some cleanup work in the PDC without having known about this bulletin, and I undid all of the wiring thinking that I was doing myself a favor, but I later learned that I probably undid something that was a service bulletin. So I'm going to redo what I undid a couple of days ago, and so let's get to it. So it's going to involve first removing the PDC. So this is a good intro for anybody that hasn't removed their PDC as of yet. As you can see, I've got the Big 7 kit installed. I'll make another video about that, and I've got this wonderful new positive battery cable connector for accessories. I'll chat more about that, and I'll link to all of these. I'll link to the Big 7 cable. I'll link to this guy that I got on Amazon. And all right, so let's get to this. The first thing is we're gonna have to remove the disconnect these wires from the PDC to be able to remove this PDC. So let's get started with that, and we'll continue. Okay. It's a 10mm. Well, first, before we do any of that, if you notice, I have a quick battery disconnect. So my Big 7 cable came with new battery terminals, as you can see here, and as you can see there, right? I've got it on the side for a reason, is because I wanted this quick battery disconnect. All right, makes life a whole lot easier versus having to unplug this every time I work on the car. So that's how I have this set up, battery disconnect, and the terminal is actually attached to the side, making sure that none of these wires, right, none of the wires from my Big 7 kit is in the way. It's a little loose, as you can see, when you unscrew it, right, to disconnect the negative, and then when you turn it back on, as you can see, I loosened it way too much. When you turn it back on and you try to wiggle this around, you'll notice that it doesn't move as much, because what's happening is, as you're tightening this, there's a little clamp there that clamps on. And when you loosen it, meaning killing the power to the ground or the negative, you'll see it gets loosened. Okay, and I'll link to that as well. Got that guy on Amazon. So first things first, disconnect battery, remove these cables, and let's get to it. Set this down. It's a little windy today. We got the landscapers out in the neighborhood, so you're gonna hear some background noise. By the way, here's another quick tip. Don't want to use one of those guys. I've got this handy Kimco powered ratchet, right? Works amazingly for this. It's got a little switch right here. Tighten, loosen. Got a nice grip, nice and sturdy. Battery comes out, 12 volts, I believe. Yes, it is, 12 volts right there. And sorry, I realize I'm off camera. 12 volts right there, if anybody's interested. I'll pause it there for a second. And I'll link to this guy as well. Amazing little tool for when you just don't want to do this over and over again. Try not to lose these, so I'll put them upside down. I'll put them right there. There's that. Take it off. Move it to the side, make sure it doesn't touch anything. Doesn't really matter because negative's off. Either way, move them to the side for a second. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to have to, you see they're held by this whole box is held by this bracket to the body. Then this piece is held on by these little clips. This clip here, clip there, one there, and one there. All right, so we're gonna have to remove those. So let's go ahead and do that first. There you go. Since I've recently opened it, it's a little easier. I can do it with my fingers, but if you haven't opened it recently, it's going to be a little tight. It looks like I broke one of the tabs here already, so that's no bueno. Gonna get your hand underneath here like so to pull it up. Give yourself a little leverage while you're pulling these tabs. It's a little annoying because you got to do all four at the same time. And there we go. Comes right up. That's what the bottom looks like. All right, zoom in that a little bit. There's that. There's the bottom of that. Okay. So the goal is, in order for us to get to the wiring, cover snaps right off. All right, try not to break it. These are super annoying, so try to keep it as nicely as possible. Put all my nuts in there so I don't lose them. Now the goal is to get to the bottom of this. There's another set of tabs here. Same deal. Pull them back, snap the bottom off. All right. Zoom out again. Let's go ahead and do that. Pull back. Pull back. Oh, I'm gonna fall back in. Pull it back. Now, there comes the bottom. And by the way, I don't know if you can tell, there's a wiring loom. And this little guy, all right, this little guy is actually taped to that wire loom. So what I did was I actually undid the tape a little bit. So I've got an easier way of sliding this guy out. All right, so you can slide that bottom piece out again, put it to the side somewhere, try not to break anything. Now you have full access to the bottom of your PDC. All right, now since you're gonna be working on this for a little while, the best thing to do is try to flip it over as best as you can without ripping anything off. And don't be too scared. Don't grab anything by the by the ends, but if you can grab hold of the harness a little bit and unclip these guys. All right, some of these guys you can see they're pop clips. They are clipped onto the fender itself. All right, so pop these guys open. This way you can move this guy around a little bit in order for you to be able to do this. All right, so you can flip this over and now you can work on it and kind of use the metal bracket as a holder. So now you can work on it in peace without that thing having to snap back on you. So now all of this hot mess, as you can see, the previous owner or maybe the dealer has actually, they did the TSB on this before, which I unknowingly undid. And he also had some funny wiring. As you can see, these two wires here are not connected. These two wires here are not connected. And as you can clearly see, it's yellow white orange, white, yellow, white, orange, white. I assume they were connected as such. That's actually the fog light. He had a relay going here, and he was tapping into this big red wire for power, right? So this is actually, let's see. This is, if I'm looking at this backwards, this is, what is this? This is number 38, the HBL relay. All right, so he was tapping into this sucker for some power, and he had an external Bosch style relay connecting the fog lights. So I assume what he did was he had these aftermarket fog lights, but he still wanted to use the switch in the multifunction switch, so he just tapped into this so to make life a little easier. But kind of undid that. I do have OEM fog lights that took me a while to find. I got these guys off of eBay, but I did buy brand new covers, so it looks a little nicer. I haven't hooked those up yet. I will at some point. I just like the look of the OEM covers and trying to keep the Jeep as OEM as possible. But it is a pain in the ass to remove these and turn the fog lights on and off. So I don't really have a need for that yet. So we'll get to it someday. All right, so back to the PDC and the wiring. Let's see.